Hi everyone, and welcome to IGN Anime Club, episode 9.
Woo. Yay! Anime!
Yay! Yeah, we made it to episode 9. So, as always, I'm your host, Miranda Sanchez, and with me is Megan Sullivan.
Hey!
Missing is Elena Yee. She's gone today, so sad. Instead, we have two guests, Brian Malkiewicz.
Hello.
From our video team, and Frank Knight.
Hey.
Also from video team. Yay, video team!
Yay, video team!
So...
I make videos and things.
Yeah. So, Frank, I'm supposed to ask you about Star Wars birthday something.
Oh, the happy birthday Frank Star Wars cake. So I believe for my birthday last year, I worked at a company, and one of my coworkers decided they should get me a Star Wars themed birthday cake because I tend to like Star Wars. And they went to Safeway and they ordered a Star Wars themed birthday cake, and they got like a plain white cake with blue frosting on it that said "Happy Birthday, Frank Star Wars," as if like Star Wars was the last name of the person.
Frank Star Wars. That's a good name, actually.
And my friends posted it on Reddit, and it kind of like blew up. And now you can search like "Happy Birthday, Frank Star Wars," and there's like a nice little Reddit post about it, and it's
a nice cake.
Ridiculous.
So you're kind of a meme.
I'm looking at it right now.
My cake may have been a meme. And actually, so that was my birthday like a year and a half ago. And then my most recent birthday, I was talking to somebody from StarWars.com on Twitter, and I mentioned like it was my birthday, and they sent me a picture of the Happy Birthday Frank Star Wars cake. And I was like, are you cognizant of the fact that this is actually my birthday cake from last year? Like, are you aware? And they were like, no, it's just hilarious.
Oh.
You're kind of blessed with like good names because like your last name already is Knight.
Yeah, I was interviewed by the AP for like some lightsaber stuff that I did at Comic-Con, and they asked me for my name, and I was like Frank Knight, and they're like, no, like what's your real name? Not like your like funny like Star Wars-y name. No, I'm like, no, my last name is Knight. That's
just too cool.
a monosyllabic first last name.
Yeah, so Frank Star Wars, Frank Knight, whatever.
Frank Star Wars, Jedi Knight. Just
For
change the whole
sure.
name.
Sir Knight.
This year for my birthday, my boss here got me a cake. It just said Pikachu on it, so I was like, this is good.
Yeah, you got a Pikachu cake, but it was literally just Pikachu spelled out in yellow.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Yeah, it's fun.
You didn't lie when you said you got you a Pikachu cake.
Yeah.
Yeah, just it was perfect. I was happy. Speaking of Pikachu and Pokemon, we've got a little different setup here. Obviously, the Pikachus have been moved.
A lot of swag up here.
Yes.
A lot of sweet.
We'll actually get
swag.
into what you can do with the swag and how you can get it. Not the Pikachus, but the cards.
Don't touch Miranda's Pikachus.
Yeah, if you
But obviously,
do.
if people aren't looking at the video podcast, they can't see any of this.
Yeah.
Use your imagination,
Use your
people.
imagination to see
So
Pokemon
on the table,
swag.
there are a bunch of Pikachus, as always. We got the Satsuki. We got Goku.
My
Really
Goku.
pumped. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
So today we're talking about Pokemon, Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh, casual shows, fun, childhood, beloved series.
All of the Gotta Collect Them All shows.
Yeah.
From the
Beloved
kind of like
childhood shows
late
that
90s, early 2000s.
moved
Yeah.
into our adulthood.
Yeah, we're also going to get a little bit into just like anime card games and kind of things that relate to it. But first, as always, let's start off with what we're watching. Yay! I feel like we should have like a
Yay.
transition into this. It's like, ooh, I don't know.
Oh, radio stinger.
Yay, anime!
Yay.
Yay, anime!
Okay, so Megan, you've had a theme going on.
I did have a theme for this week. So this week's theme was samurai. So I watched Gintama and I watched Samurai Champloo. So that was my theme. So I'll start with Gintama, which is absolutely ridiculous. I had no idea what it was about. I thought it was a serious show. I was quickly disabused of that notion within about 30 seconds of the show starting. And I definitely think my favorite character is Elizabeth. I don't know what it is.
She's cute.
I don't care, but she's awesome. And I like how she always communicates by holding up a sign that says something really just hilarious. So she and Zura are definitely my favorite characters so far. And I think Miranda and I were talking about this the other day, where the first kind of season or story arc is a little slow, but I started jumping around because it has like 200 plus episodes at least. And so I started jumping around. I was watching one yesterday that was video game themed, and that was pretty funny, where they had like the Bentendo Owie or Owie, like the Nintendo, it was like the Nintendo Wii, but they couldn't say it.
Obviously
So
say Nintendo.
yeah, so they had this whole episode where Gintoki and Kagura and everyone, they're waiting in line to get this console, and in order to get one of these limited consoles, they have to like play a specific kind of game, but the game is actually like a dating sim. And so it just, it's just like this dating sim thing.
Not awkward at all.
It's not awkward at all. And it was like the one game they didn't know how to play kind of thing. And then like Zoro dresses up as like Mario and he keeps talking about how he wants like a double twin Famicom and he keeps getting yelled at because it's like there is that thing is like 20 plus years old. It doesn't exist anymore, but he doesn't get it. And just goes on and on. It's all these insider game jokes, which I have to admit I appreciated. So that was pretty good. So now I'm on the Gintama bandwagon, I guess.
Nice. Yeah, like the first 2 episodes, I just watched the first 2. I haven't really gotten a lot of time to watch it, but the first 2 are kind of like, Like, it's funny.
I think some of the jokes run a little too long. I think some of the comedic beats get dragged out a little too long. And, like, Shinpachi is, like, the straight man, and he points out everything that's weird or wrong. And I'm like, you don't really need to do that. The audience knows. It's okay. We get it. But anyways, pretty good stuff. And then I watched Samurai Champloo, and I have to say that has a dope soundtrack. I love Battle Cry. Like, I keep listening to it, like, every day over and over and over and over again. I think at first I'm going to get lit up for this. I think I was a little disappointed at first because the way people were talking about it, I thought it was more hip hop with a little bit of like the, whole samurai fighting aspect to it, where it's really more of like
samurai with breakdance.
Yeah, it's more like the chambara style with a little bit of hip hop and breakdancing. So it wasn't a bunch of breakdancing samurai busting out their cardboard boxes and going at it, but it's still good. Although I
really want that show though. I really want like.
That's what I thought it was going to be.
Samurai Champloo to Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah.
And it seems like everybody wants everything to be Electric Boogaloo now.
Valid. But specifically Breakin' 2 style. Like I want like samurai breakdance battles.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like Fu is a little bit annoying to me. She's the one huge weak point for me in the show because I thought that she was going to have she was going to carry her own weight, but I've watched 8 episodes and she's this damsel in distress and I'm like, do some breakdance moves or something. Like that's what I was thinking, that there were these 3 companions who go around breakdancing against other samurai, and it's still really good, but I wouldn't mind, a little more breakdancing if they ever decide to do more Samurai Champloo. Still good though, don't get me wrong, still good. Love the soundtrack. So yep, that's what I watched.
Cool. So sounds like your samurai theme is
working out so far. Yeah.
Cool. For me, I actually watched a lot, but I'm going to talk about Nisekoi because it had its special one-off magical girl kind of show, and it was really disappointing.
Oh no!
So
sad day.
Yeah, I love Nisekoi, and for the manga they did this break-off about Onodera being a magical girl, and it had some really good beats where it kind of made references to Madoka Magica, which is one of the best magical girl shows ever, and everybody should watch it because it's amazing and very unexpected about what it does with magical girl genre. And that was kind of fun, like how they poked fun and whenever you transform, you're naked for 5 seconds. Sorry. They're like, what? They're conscious of it. And that's fun because nobody points that out. I mean, obviously fans do, but it's not something you kind of.
It's not something that's
addressed
super
in
the
the
universe,
inside the show.
Yeah. And so that was kind of fun, but it felt very disjointed. I mean, you could tell it was broken up by kind of chapters, but it's like whenever you translate into anime, you can maybe bridge it a little bit better, but it was okay. So I was just a little disappointed with that, but it was still fun to see Onodera in a cute magical girl outfit and all the other cast. So that's kind of my big thing. Another thing I did this weekend was made some food from Food Wars.
So, I saw that. Yeah. It looked really good too. I saw your picture on Twitter. I was like, oh man, I want some of that.
Right. So since Food Wars is all about cooking and stuff, I couldn't go as far as the show does with Soma, how he cooks really unique dishes and makes them super just out of the ballpark kind of weird touches to them. I wanted to do one of the simpler ones just because it just looked really good. I did the jalapeno steak.
Something along those lines.
Jalapeno steak or something. I'm sorry. I know I butchered that terribly, but
it has steak in it. That's all I need to know. It sounds delicious already.
Yeah, in the show they make it a don, so they have a bowl. It's a rice bowl kind of thing.
Right.
Uh-huh. And the big point was the steak. It's the meat is obviously the big part of the bowl. Uh-huh. And the thing that's special about the steak is that it's tenderized by onions. You let it sit with onions for about an hour or so, and then just kind of tenderize, and it gets that kind of that onion flavor, and just it's just soft and juicy and stuff. And it was. So I got this recipe from Cooking with Dog, and
I love Cooking with Dog.
Me too. So it's like an awesome YouTube channel where there's a dog named Francis, and then there's Chef.
Yeah.
He's this woman that does actually all the cooking,
right?
Obviously.
But it's narrated by the dog.
Well, you just ruined everything for me. I thought it was the dog the whole time.
But there's a dog there the entire time. So cute. Yeah. Just sits there, it's just like, oh, I'm a dog.
Yeah, it's so cute.
Yeah, and coincidentally, they did the steak right after or around the same time as the anime. I don't know if it was lined up or if they just decided, hey, this is kind of a popular recipe right now. But whatever reason, it's an awesome recipe and I had a lot of fun making it. So you just like kind of tenderize the steak, let it sit with like a bunch of onions. I used like an onion and a half, I think. So it was a lot, but it's so delicious. So definitely not the caliber of Soma's cooking, but still pretty good.
But still, obviously it sounds like it works out, and you can never have too much onion and garlic and all that amazing stuff.
Do you have like a lot of like background cooking, or would like if you're like me and microwave your ramen, like jumping into like cooking a la Food Wars, like how big is that jump?
This was my first steak ever.
Oh, okay.
It actually turned out really well. So
impressive.
I think this is a very simple recipe. It doesn't require many like obscure ingredients or anything. It's mostly onion. You got your steak. I think you need soy sauce. It's not that hard. So it's like a very simple recipe. You can kind of pair it with whatever you want.
Soy sauce and beef is such a good combination.
Yeah.
I love that combination.
Soy sauce and everything.
Soy sauce, okay, I stand corrected.
You
soy
should
sauce
put
and
the soy
everything.
sauce in the onions. So you cook the onions and then you set them aside. You cook the steak and then you cook the onions again in the steak juices, so it gets the flavor. And then you add some soy sauce. And
My mouth is watering
it's
right
so good.
now.
I know.
I think we should just change this to Anime Food Club.
I would be down with that.
Yeah, I have been hunting down websites that kind of recreate, the food in anime. Like obviously some stuff is
it's like just traditional Japanese food,
right? But some of it, whenever you like Food Wars, it's just very different, obscure kind of thing. Like
it's amazing how like anime influences that. I'm reading Drops of God right now, the manga about wine, and it makes me want to go out and try these different wines because it's based on real wines, but they're all super expensive wines. So I was like, well, I can't afford a $500 bottle of wine, so I guess I can just use my imagination. And it's so poetic, and the ruby colored wine is velvety soft, and it's the same thing in like Food Wars where they describe the food and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, the descriptions are amazing and so eloquent too.
Yeah,
like, you wouldn't expect it because it's like an edgy, and those are kind of like more raunchy sometimes, but this one is just done so well. Like Food Wars is probably one of my favorite. It is one of my favorite shows of the season. So yeah. Guys, food and anime just always looks so good too.
Anime is really good at taking like something that you have no interest in and then just making it seem like the most epic thing.
Right.
Whether it be like, air gear and roller skating or, Hajime no Ippo and boxing, like whatever it is. They're like really good at just taking like some sort of niche thing, whether it be tennis or swimming or anything, food, wine, and be like, this is the most epic thing if you dedicate your life to it.
Yeah. There's one about like cycling that looks really epic that I've always wanted to watch because I'm like, man, I never really cared about cycling even during like the Tour de France, but this looks amazing. I'm going to go watch this anime.
Yay anime!
Yay anime!
Speaking of food anime, I tried watching Bento, which is a weird anime that was pitched to me as people kung fu battle in grocery stores over half-price food. And that's pretty much what the show is. Like the idea,
like a good anime.
The idea is like some guy goes into a store and attempts to like buy a bento, and he's unaware that like there's this craziness going on. So he just gets beat up and like knocked unconscious, and spends like the rest of like the 13 episode arc like building friends and learning about the seedy wars of like bento fighting for half price food. Because everybody is like a broke student and nobody can afford like real food. So everybody has to like fight for it.
Oh my gosh.
That reminds me that there's a sweet Japanese restaurant around the corner that sells really good bento boxes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We're probably going to go get some bento.
So we should go for lunch for bento boxes.
The other stuff I've been watching is all a side effect of the fact that a bunch of the IGN editors are obsessed with Final Fantasy XIV right now. Oh. And we're all trying to get a rating party all ready for the expansion after E3. So I've been watching a bunch of anime that's based on MMOs. So I've been rewatching Dot Hack Slash from back in the day.
Oh my gosh, wow.
Yeah, I don't know if it holds up as much as I enjoyed it when I was younger.
I played the PlayStation 2 games for IGN. I reviewed those
Oh, yeah?
years ago. And I'd not played an MMO at the time, so I had no idea what the heck was going on.
Yeah,
like, half the time.
those games are really weird. And then also, I rewatched Sword Art Online.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yep. Which is, like very, very similar. The first arc of Sword Art Online is like really cool and fun. The second arc is where it falls off.
Yep.
I did watch the first episode of Sword Art 2, where it kind of introduces the girl and her gun issues and all of that stuff. But I haven't really dove in too far into that one. Sword Art's interesting. I like it, but it's definitely very disjointed because it's based on a light novel. So like there's all these like jumps in time and stuff, and it's very kind of weird from an anime perspective.
Yeah, I feel like there's certain anime that if it's based on light novels or games, sometimes it's very disjointed.
Yeah.
Like, I forget what anime I recently tried to watch, but it was based on a video game, and you can tell. Well, I told Miranda about, what was it, Kamigami no Asobi? The simulator, it was based on like a dating sim, but for like girls, and I got through one episode, and I was laughing so hard. It's like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen.
So they're fun to watch, kind of the dating sim inspired like shows and stuff, and I've had a few that I really like. But I mean, inherently, it is difficult to kind of create that because you have to choose a path.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you see with like the Fate Stay series. You have to choose a path, and like they follow different paths. But that also kind of creates different options for different shows too.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. But yeah, I could see where inherently it could go very wrong.
Yeah, this was not a good example of one of those, so
Yeah.
I would stay away from that one.
Yeah. How about you, Brian?
So Goku is making his sweet debut. Actually, no, he's been on anime.
No, he's been on before.
Yeah.
He was front and
Anyways,
center.
well, he's here now because I am actually going through Dragon Ball Z again.
Are you
Well, the series-
prepping for Dragon Ball Super?
I'm prepping for Dragon Ball Super. I probably don't need to because I know more about that show than I'd like to admit. But it's still good to like get like little refreshers on everything, especially with the I haven't seen the new Resurrection of F movie. I haven't seen it yet. I'm waiting for the dub to come over.
Yeah,
I
there's
can watch it
a
this summer.
Yeah, I
they're
want to watch
gonna
the
be
summer.
hitting theaters.
I want to watch the theatrical release of it because it'll be awesome. But I'm super excited for the relaunching that series.
No, I'm really excited. Also, I think it's really interesting. So this time, I think everybody knows that Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z were a manga that then became an anime series.
Right.
This is going to be an anime series that has a companion manga.
Right.
So it's going to go the other direction when the cartoon comes out. So I'm excited to see how that works out.
It's gonna be interesting to see if they're gonna have like any major differences, especially since it's gonna be parallel with each other.
Yeah.
If they're gonna diverge in any different directions.
Yeah, if we're gonna have one that isn't maybe the anime will be consistent with the anime continuity and the manga will be consistent with the manga
Or
continuity.
if they'll
Who
just align
Yeah.
with each other.
Because I think with the Kill la Kill manga, obviously the show came first and then the manga, so the manga kind of just follows the show.
It's just like an
It's kind of
adaptation,
a-
and it's
yeah, I
it's-
mean,
it's okay.
It's just, the same thing, but a manga. So I wonder if they're going to do that, or like you guys said, split off. I think it'd be more interesting to see them split off, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't need carbon copies of everything.
Yeah, I mean, like with the Pokemon mangas, like those things are always just completely weird. They're just, some of them follow similar lines, but they're definitely more aligned with like the game than like the anime.
Right.
Do I have this right? Is the manga darker than the actual anime?
For Pokemon?
Yeah.
So there's several different ones, and there's a Pokemon anime, a Pokemon manga that has a not like a Pikachu, not a starter, has a Clefairy, Clefable. I can't
I don't
remember.
think it'd be Clefable. That'd be a
Clefable.
pretty
It's
sweet
Pink
starter.
and adorable, and it's incredibly foul-mouthed, and it's kind of like raunchy and weird.
Yeah.
I don't think that one ever got brought to the U.S.
Yeah, I
with, like,
said
an English
darker, but I
translation.
think I meant more adult.
Yeah, like so some of them are just like targeted for kids, but there is like a whole series where Red has just a foul-mouthed companion Pokemon. And it's ridiculous.
I want that one. Why didn't we get that? Why didn't we get an anime based on that one?
One day,
Is this for
one day.
kids? I mean, for kids.
I am 27 years old.
I thought we weren't allowed to talk about the 4Kids Pokemon experience.
Well, guess
Nerdy
what?
punches.
We are. Hey guys.
Speaking of.
Yeah. So this episode, we're gonna bring it down with some really tough questions. As
The
in-
wars.
As in, which is best, Pokemon, Digimon, or Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yep.
No.
So I'll start off by saying that I loved Pokemon so much when I was a kid that when people talked about Digimon, I instantly hated them.
Whoa.
Wow.
Whoa.
That line in the sand.
So it was mostly because I had like a group of friends who were just like really into Pokemon, and when we found out about Digimon, we were just like, trying to copy Pokemon. We're like little kids. So it was like so it became like a little rivalry when like other people would be into Digimon.
It became that everything was copying Pokemon. Like whenever Yu-Gi-Oh came out and stuff, like, oh, that's just the same thing, but it's like Pokemon. Pokemon already did it
But
better.
with cards.
Yeah.
Pokemon does have cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so Pokemon, like, I was first introduced actually to the card game because I didn't have a Game Boy when I was younger, and I didn't really watch the cartoon, so it was, card game first, and I enjoyed the card game a lot, and it was until I was in college that I played my first Pokemon video game.
Oh,
and I was like, oh, hey, it's a full Japanese RPG. Like, it's not like a kid's game. That's awesome.
I think I'm exactly the opposite of you. I started out with the game when I got my first Game Boy, and then it went kind of card game, but not really. It was mostly just like collecting, like I'm sure like everybody did, was like hardcore collecting, and then I was hard on the anime.
I also started with the game. I had red, and then of course yellow.
Of course,
God,
the special Pikachu
classic
edition.
Miranda.
Absolutely. And I assume the matching Game Boy.
No, actually.
You didn't
I just
have
had
a matching
I had a
Pikachu Game Boy, huh?
lime green.
Tisk.
Yeah, just lime green Game Boy Color. But yeah, and then I collected the cards, of course, Pikachu cards. Had the special, I think it was the Mew card whenever we went to see the movie.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like
I went to see that movie just because of the Mew card.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you had to get the card.
I mean, I enjoyed the
wanted-
movie, but I was there for the Mew
fantastic
card.
movie. I cried.
Me and my friend went to the movie, and we each bought 2 passes just for 2 different cards.
Did you go see the movie twice, or did you just
No,
get the card and leave?
once. We just bought like tickets to the same show. No need to sit through the movie twice. We got the movie. It was cool. There was a little Pikachu vacation thing in the beginning. That was wonderful.
That was sweet.
But we had the cards, because the thing with the Pokemon was, when I was a kid, there was actually a Pokemon card game league at your Toys R Us.
Yeah.
So like they would go and they would teach you how to play, and they would collect other kids, and you would all play together. Versus like there was a Digimon card game that nobody could figure out how to play. Like nobody even remembers it. It was terrible. But getting into a card game by yourself as a kid is really hard. But when there's a community to help you, it's really easy.
Yeah, so let's just stick around with the Pokemon card game. We'll double into all the other ones as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't know. Like, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who also don't really know how to play. I mean, like we said, we just kind of collected them. I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of
playing this
people
like-
collected the Pokemon cards and then didn't actually play. Like I dealt with a lot of card games, but Pokemon was the first card game I actually played and learned how to play, and it's super easy compared to other
You
stuff.
guys have actually been playing the Pokemon card game in the office.
So when I was a kid, I started collecting these in like middle school, collecting Pokemon cards in middle school. I never played it. And I think mainly the reason was that, not because of disinterest, is because nobody else was playing it. Everybody was just collecting, everybody was trading, that was it. I don't think I've ever seen anybody play it when I was younger, but it wasn't until I started working here, and then you started working here, and you were like, hey, let's play Pokemon. And I was like, I never really learned. Okay, let's do it. And I was like, oh wait, this is really fun, and I don't know why I never did.
Yeah, the weird thing about Pokemon is there's an app or a computer game that you can play that's Pokemon the trading card game online, and it's sanctioned by the Pokemon company. And if you buy a pack of Pokemon cards, it comes with a digital code for pack for the digital game, and that came to the iPad like right when I started. So I was like, hey, we should totally like review this, like upload this, like yay.
Like, I see you go over there sometimes. And you've got it on your screen. You're just like ready to play on your off time.
So like that's super cool. And then for some reason, Nintendo just always sent Jose boxes of Pokemon cards.
We never did.
And I was like, I mean, can't we unbox these or something? Like, these are cool. Like, let's play some Pokemon in the office. We have a ton of Pokemon cards. So, like, I got really into it, try to get a bunch of people in the office to play. And it's a really fun, it's a really simple game. And it's constantly changing. So, like, the cards from, like, when I was a kid, like that, that first edition Charizard isn't legal to play anymore. So, you always have to get new cards and kind of keep it up to date. But, it's definitely a lot of fun.
Legal, just
No.
because it's too good.
Unfortunately, it's quite the opposite.
Honestly, if you try to
power
play
creep. All the old stuff is worthless. Like it's all gonna die in one hit.
Yeah, if you tried to play Charizard now, the original Charizard, you would
So it's
you would
just
lose.
so bad that they're like, you can't play this.
Yeah, pretty
It's
much.
actually weird because usually you think, obviously I was assuming that, it's probably just too good. Of course,
No,
when they
not
create
at all.
a
So
game, it's
the
super
game has
balanced.
the game has like a
Weird.
huge power creep. So one of the incentives for getting people to buy the next set is the newer cards are super powerful. And so they're stronger and stronger and stronger. So older cards aren't really viable anymore. The newest set that just came out has a colorless Rayquaza that does like 300 damage.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And back in the day, I think Mew had 90 HP, like that first Mew card.
Yeah.
Mewtwo.
Yeah.
So definitely can do very bad things to Pokemon cards from the old game.
So we got Charizard here, who's 120 HP. So you try to put that against Colorless Rayquaza.
It's gonna destroy.
I mean, granted, like there's not many Pokemon cards in the new set that have 300 HP.
Yeah,
but
it's supposed to be like a ridiculous number, anyways.
Yeah.
But and then in addition to that, they also kind of rotate old cards out to make sure that certain combos can exist that break the game. Like for the first time ever, the Pokemon Company has banned a card from the trading card game. It's called Lysander's Trump Card, and if you play it, you shuffle your discard pile back into your deck, and your opponent does the same thing. So one of the ways that you win card games is if you run out of cards, then you lose. So this prevents that from happening. So you can just endlessly cycle all your cards. And they just had a regionals, and there was a Pikachu deck I mentioned to you that did wonderful at regionals. It was great, and pretty much the idea was you would draw all of through your entire deck the first turn. You get all of your cards set up, and then you play Lysander's Trump Card, reshuffle in, and then win, and just beat up everybody. And after like a couple of decks came out, there was a Japanese deck that came out that just kind of destroyed everybody. And they're like, maybe this card isn't a good thing. So for the first time ever, they banned a card. So like cards get moved out of the game for reasons like that. They don't want certain combos to exist. They don't want anything to break the game.
So what's the difference between like illegal cards and banned cards? Are they pretty much the same thing?
So yeah, exactly. So illegal cards are cards that are not legal for play, are not necessarily things where like this card specifically you can't use this card. It's from an older series. Pokemon has rotations. So when a new expansion of cards comes out, you get about 2 weeks after that card set comes out before you can start playing that in tournaments. And then every year after Worlds, there's a big rotation where they're like, okay, these 10 sets from before 2014, you can't play with those anymore. Now you can just play with 2014 on.
This is really complicated.
And, yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, you have to go. How do you remember what sets are what? I mean, you have to go.
The power of the internet.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome, but then you have to look up all the sets. It's like, what cards were in these sets?
Yeah.
Do I have these cards? I guess I have to pull them out now.
So,
I guess if you're playing competitively, then it matters.
So, like, I'm super nerdy, and I may have gone to a couple of Pokemon regionals or something like that. So in my apartment, there may be a binder that's black and white on for the expanded format. So if you make it into the top cut of a tournament, you play in one format. And for the first day of the tournament, you play Boundaries Crossed on, which is like the current standard format, which is usually what I play in because I'm not good enough to make top cut. And so you have that kind of format. And, Japan has black and white. Japan has one format. The US has another format. It's all a little complicated. You have to keep track of all the cards and all the combos, and it's daunting, but it's surprisingly not as daunting compared to like other stuff. So compared to Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic the Gathering, all that stuff is way more complicated.
Oh no. Well,
I see the fear in your eyes, but don't worry. We're still going to teach you how to play. Like you're going to get
It's really not that complicated, especially
the game
if you
itself
stack
is super easy.
Yeah, if you stack it up against like Yu-Gi-Oh, it's not complicated.
How do you play it? Just a few sentences.
So pretty much the goal of the card game is to replicate the fights in the video game.
Sure.
So in the video game, you can walk around the world with 6 Pokemon, correct?
Yeah.
So in the card game, you have 6 prize cards. So each one of those represents a Pokemon. In the video game, if your 6 Pokemon faint, you lose. In the card game, if your opponent collects 6 prize cards, they win. So you battle one Pokemon at a time. You have a bench in the card game that represents the Pokemon that are still in their Pokeballs. And you can have 5 on the bench, 1 active, total 6, just like in the video game. So the idea is they're just trying to replicate that. And the idea is you knock out your opponent's Pokemon until you've collected 6 prize cards.
Yay!
See, not complicated.
That's not, yeah.
No, it's
really straightforward.
And the weaknesses and resistance and all that from Pokemon that have gotten a lot more complicated over the years, they're very simple because there's actually a lot fewer. There's not poison type and bug type and grass type. There is grass type, and then there is psychic type. Psychic type counts for like Mew, Mewtwo, and it also counts for some poison type Pokemon. Some poison type Pokemon or bug type Pokemon are also grass type. And so, in the card game, everything is really simplified versus the complexity of the rock, paper, scissors in the video game.
Interesting.
Yep.
Well, I have a deck.
Yep.
I'm working on it.
Yep. We will get you playing in the office.
Now it's not all old cards, is it?
No.
Because I remember when you were talking a lot of talk about Yu-Gi-Oh, and then.
So yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh is also wonderful. But I have a very old deck, and that's also a problem because you can't really stack up against the new cards. That's just like kind of, I guess, how all card games work.
They all
It's
kind
just,
of
you gotta.
The game's evolved.
But like,
Yeah.
so what is easy for Pokemon is if you look in list online, you're like, these are the legal cards. There's only like a year's worth. These are popular decks that people like. Great. But in Yu-Gi-Oh, they don't rotate sets out like Pokemon and Magic. They just have a giant list since the dawn of time
Of banned cards, limited cards.
These are the cards that like we've dicked with since the creation of the system, like the whole Yu-Gi-Oh card game system. And I can't follow that. It's really hard.
It's different for me because I started playing the game around the time it first came out. So a lot of people,
Me too.
a lot of people say the game is complicated, where I'm just like, nah, it's not so bad. It's not really bad, but when you start the game, when it's not super complicated, when it first came out, it wasn't. It was super easy. But over time, over the years, it's been, I don't know, 15 years since I started playing it, and I mean I haven't played it ever since. Like there's been breaks.
They slowly introduce new rules and stuff.
And you're like, oh, that's nice. I'll try that again. Yeah. No, but they slowly introduce new rules, and then so it's I'm learning one new thing at a time. Whereas when new players come in, there's like 20 things that they're just like, what is this?
Yeah, no. When I just started playing recently, because you and Michael Wynn are playing in the office, and you guys really like Yu-Gi-Oh. So I'm like, I'll look into this. And there's Shadal fusions, and there's Xyz summons, and Synchro summons, and
exactly, because it used to
all
be
this
just
stuff, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
It used to be basically just like, oh, here's a normal summon, here's a flip summon, here's a special summon. That's it. Now it's like, here's a normal, flip, a special summon, fusion summon, Synchro, Xyz, and Pendulum, and it's all crazy.
No.
And none of that makes any sense to you, I'm sure, because you haven't played all that new stuff.
Yeah, how's Toontown doing?
Toontown's doing, it's there. It's still legal. It hasn't rotated out.
Aww.
I don't know. I got really excited because there's a bunch of like a whole starter deck that came out of like Kamen Rider inspired like Yu-Gi-Oh characters. I was like, awesome! I love Kamen Rider. And it's an okay deck, but I still get destroyed by you guys.
Yeah. Well, the thing is like Yu-Gi-Oh now is kind of crazy because right now they just have like 3 main decks that everybody plays that are like really top tier. You have the Shadals, the Necros, or the Satellar Knights. Basically, like anytime I go to a card shop, those are like one of the 3 decks that everybody's playing, and you're just like, man, I just want to play somebody with my 6 Samurais or my Light Sworns and not lose every time. And it's just, dang, it's like crazy.
Some decks are just better than others.
Yeah, a lot better.
A very important question for you guys.
Yeah.
Does Blue Eyes Dragons still hold up?
No.
No.
So most of my Yu-Gi-Oh knowledge actually comes from watching the anime, because I watched the entire first season of Yu-Gi-Oh and then a little bit of some of the subsequent animes. And so when I went looking for my first Yu-Gi-Oh stuff a couple months ago, I noticed that they had an updated Blue Eyes starter deck that came with a Synchro summons fancy Blue Eyes.
Yeah, it looks. I forget what it's called.
Isn't the worst thing imaginable. So I feel like they do a little bit of anime fan service where they're like, these are the decks that characters use in the show. They're not the worst. They're better than some things.
Yeah.
They're not gonna win, but they're good try.
Yeah.
Good try.
It's like we can't really. Yeah, it's just like Blue Eyes is basically the Charizard of Yu-Gi-Oh. It was great when around its time and during its peak, but now it's just like you have to tribute 2 monsters to get them out. That's unacceptable in the meta today.
Way too slow.
So sad. Rip Blue Eyes. I miss you.
R.I.P. Don't worry, I still keep him around because he's still my favorite card.
Yeah.
But I won't play him in a deck.
Aww. So, did you guys watch the anime? I mean, this is an anime podcast, but we did want to get into the card games.
Yes.
Which is important, obviously.
Well, the anime and the card game are
hand in
are
hand.
more hand in hand than Pokemon and its
Yeah,
card game are because
Yu-Gi-Oh! It is the card game is the anime.
Exactly.
Like we were saying with other things where, wine tasting. Yu-Gi-Oh! Does that for card games. Makes you really want to play a card game.
I mean, especially Yu-Gi-Oh! Above all other shows, because, it is about the card game.
Yeah, it's all just a card game. Except there's weird shadow realms and other things.
Very
that
complicated
exist in
hologram monsters.
Guys, how did nobody really... They kind of got around to questioning, I'm Yugi. Oh, you look a little bit taller. Oh, what's going on?
I'm
completely different. He's just so much bigger.
Yeah, I don't
heck?
think they ever really explain that in the show. I think it's more of just like a visual representation for the audience,
Sure.
rather than something that's in the physical world in Yu-Gi-Oh.
I haven't gotten around to reading the manga, but I have a feeling that they probably mentioned something about it. I mean, just not.
I feel like I think it's all like, you're acting different. But it's like, now I have a booming voice and I'm very forceful and alpha.
You went from like whiny like grandpa to summon dark magician, and it's like super smooth and just it was weird, but nobody ever questioned it in the show, so I'm just wondering if that was the case, that it's just a representation for you to see like the pharaoh that was Yami Yugi coming out of that puzzle.
And his hair grows. He's
the power
crazy.
Spike. Yeah, the power spike.
He's also
Super Saiyan Yugi.
Really cool.
Super Saiyan Yugi, actually, that's really good.
I was watching Yu-Gi-Oh! Over on Netflix again. I wish I would have seen the Japanese series, because there's just obviously a lot that was changed with 4Kids, because they did want to make it 4Kids. I mean,
4Kids was not exactly the greatest importer of Japanese animation.
Right.
From what I heard, there was a lot more death in the Japanese
much more
anime.
Violence. We actually talked about this on a past episode where when they are on the island battling Pegasus and stuff, Bandit Keith is there, and he actually threatens Pegasus with a gun.
Oh.
But it's completely taken out.
Yeah, no, there are no guns in 4Kids.
No such thing as guns in
so
the
Bandit
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Keith
anime.
is just like holding up his hand like a gun in a weird way. It's like, what is happening? And he's like counting down. He's like, Pegasus, I'll give you a count. I'm gonna count down like 3, 2, 1. And he's just like, oh, bye, whatever. And it doesn't make sense. Like, if, as an adult, of course,
you're
watching
you're like, what is going on?
What? And it just like they add like extra hair for Pegasus' face, so you can't see his hand as much. And like when they do show like the long shot, you can see just Bandit Keith like holding nothing. It's all right.
No, they did all kinds of stuff, because remember in Pokemon they cut out the entire Safari episode where Ash goes to the Safari Zone because there's a gun involved in that, and then like 10 episodes later, all of a sudden Ash has like 50 Tauros for like no reason because they cut out that episode.
Continuity.
Who needs it?
Like, I just went on vacation and just got 50 Tauros for no reason.
Yeah.
Just because.
Yeah, and one other thing that I noticed is how scared Yugi was of Yami Yugi. Like, I didn't understand that when I was a kid. Like, I kind of just like, oh, they're buds, it's fine. They just trade off. I kind of forgot that. And you have that point whenever I think Yami Yugi was they're in the intense battle with Kaiba, and Kaiba said, hey, you're going to win. I'm going to stand on this ledge, and if you give the final blow, I'm going to fall off the ledge and die. And it's just like,
it's like, he's like Blackburn. It's like, you either kill me or win. What do you want to do? Do you want to win that much?
And then Yami Yugi was like, yeah, whatever. It's your own fault. You're dumb.
And he's
then
like, no.
He was like, yeah, no. And then all of his friends like Taya were like, no, Yugi, how can you do this? And
Card game of death.
I know. That being said,
it's like, you got to be really like, really obsessed with a card game if you threaten, like, you're like, all right, if you win this game, I'm gonna die. I will die to win this game, is basically what Kaiba said there.
Right. I mean,
like
because he wanted to save Mokuba. I mean, that was his only chance. Is that if he didn't get through, then he couldn't save him. It's just interesting how, in a way, he had to like tame the Millennium Puzzle to an extent, because you saw that conflict with the other people who had Millennium items.
Yeah, like the Millennium Eye, Pegasus with his cheating Millennium Eye.
Yeah, what a jerk. But it's just kind of interesting to kind of go back to that and see a bunch of stuff I missed as a kid, of course.
Yeah, no, it's all weird. And then, of course, that was just like the original. And then they had 5Ds and
5Ds, and they had the what was the one more recent than that? Or was that the 5D one where they were like where they race around a track?
Yeah, 5Ds. Is that 5Ds? 5Ds is the one where they race around, like they play. They play competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! While riding motorcycles.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I didn't get any of that. I saw that episode and I was just like, this is weird. Like, I still enjoyed the card game around that time, because the 5Ds is what introduced the Synchro monsters.
Yeah, and Black Wings, which is what Michael's helping me build right now. So that, like, I went back and I looked at the card game and I'm like, oh, hey, this is from the 5Ds and da-da-da-da. And I looked in that anime and I was like,
Black Wings is that old?
Yeah, Black Wings is 5Ds.
They've gotten a lot of support since then.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Yeah, I kind of dropped it.
I dropped off the anime after
the original season.
After the original series, the season run.
What it was.
But
it's funny that, like, we're talking about how dark Yu-Gi-Oh! Is, but it's actually not nearly as dark as Digimon gets. Like, Digimon is the one that, like, so, like, I watched, like, the first season of Yu-Gi-Oh! I watched, like, the first season of Pokemon. But I watched the first 4 seasons of Digimon. Like, that was a good cartoon. That was a good anime. Like, I feel like that was the one that the anime was the main part of that brand, and there was a card game. There was like the Tamagotchi battle items. There was, toys, but like they focused on the anime versus Pokemon. They focused on the video game. Yu-Gi-Oh! They focused on the card game.
A selling point for all their other products.
Exactly.
Obviously Pikachu and tons of plushes and figures.
All
and
that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like what can we market kind of through the anime. But yeah, definitely a very valid point that Digimon was kind of first and foremost was the show and the plot and the themes and the characters as opposed to let's sell these products. Of course, that is always part of it, but yeah. That's totally right.
Even as a kid at the time, like I didn't even realize that. So I remember the original brick-shaped Digimon that were like Tamagotchis, and you clicked them together and battled. I didn't realize that they kept making the Digivices from the show as Tamagotchis that you could buy and battle with. Like I didn't even realize there was that toy aspect until years later. Now they're promoting Digimon Tri, like the 15th anniversary, and they're like, hey, we're bringing back these Digivices. I'm just like, oh, that's neat, I should buy one. And then I look at how much they are in like Hobby Link Japan. I'm like, I don't want to drop $150 on a Digivice.
Yeah, they are very expensive.
Yeah.
And still so wonderful.
Yeah.
It's like, can we get an app? I mean, there probably has to be something similar.
I'm sure Japan has a wonderful app where you can just like play and battle your Digimon, and the US just does not get that.
Yeah, so you were saying how dark Digimon is. I mean,
yeah.
Kind of like going into each of the shows. And
yeah.
Obviously, Yu-Gi-Oh! Does get pretty dark. Pokemon has its moments, but obviously Pokemon kind of feels more like SpongeBob in a way. Not like, I love SpongeBob, but it's more, you can watch an episode and then jump to another episode super far down the line.
Yeah, Ash has been 10 years old for 15 years now, right?
Yeah.
Him and Bart Simpson are kind of stuck in this loop. But Digimon didn't work like that, right? So you had your first season of Digimon, you had little kids at camp. Second season, those kids were now older, and a new younger set of kids were kind of the focus. And the third season, and every subsequent season after that, it's a little more like Yu-Gi-Oh!, where they completely jump characters and worlds, and everything is different. The third season of Digimon is actually about how Digimon is occurring in, like, the world of the third season is our normal world, where Digimon is a toy brand, and like they play the card game for Digimon, which is how I knew there was a Digimon card game.
So in this one, there's no actual.
So the world those people live in, there's no actual Digimon until one day somebody strikes reads a card through like a Nintendo e-reader type device, and suddenly Digimon come into the real world, and
It's all in the first episode.
I think it's like episode 3. Like I think it's one of those like anime that's a little slow to that.
Right.
Before you kind of figure out what's going on. But yeah, like they kind of build storylines up, and they build characters, and they allow characters to grow and have arcs. And since they're resetting stories, on each different season, you can have like a full arc in one series, and characters can grow and change.
Right.
And they don't have to get reset to 0 each time like they do in like Pokemon or the majority of anime or even The Simpsons.
And it's also really cool because they do eventually bring back like the original cast from Digimon in later seasons.
In later seasons they're start. Yeah, in later seasons they start to kind of
time actually passes
be fancier
in that show, huh?
That people are allowed to grow and change. Digimon Tri, I think they're all in high school, right?
Yeah, they're going back to when they were in high school, so that's super exciting. Oh, I'm so excited, but so sad that that's a series of films instead of just a season.
It is definitely kind of weird. I was hoping for like a straight up anime, but it's going to be a bunch of direct to DVD kind of shorts.
Are we sure it's going to go just a DVD?
I mean, I feel like
Probably.
in Japan they'll get theatrical releases, but I feel like here we're not even going to get the
I don't think
the return of
Digimon's
F.
as popular as it once was.
Yeah.
In the States, so there's like I don't know.
I'm hoping for a big like resurgence in the U.S.
Yeah.
But yeah, even Digimon Tamers was really good with it had it was one of those few shows that addressed the relationships between the kids and their parents, right? Like in Pokemon, like Ash has a dad, maybe it's Professor
Somewhere.
Oak. I don't know.
That's
He
just
did
like
something
a weird
this is
theory
the-
is Professor Oak, but
No, I think there's also another theory that leader of the Team Rocket, what's his name?
Giovanni.
Giovanni, yeah. I know it starts with a G, but Giovanni is actually his father.
There's a Giovanni theory, which kind of makes Ash Silver, I guess, because Giovanni is Silver's dad in the video games. And there's all kinds of wonderful theories about who's Ash's dad and all this stuff. But like, the parents don't really matter in Digimon, right?
because
Grandpa kind of matters in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like season 1, but pretty much parents don't matter in Yu-Gi-Oh! But in Digimon, like that is an issue, right? It's like how do you tell your parents about this? Like how do we react to our parents? Some of the kids in the shows have negative relationships with their parents. Some parents are absentee, or some parents are abusive, or whatever, and that like affects how the characters act on the show. The third season of Digimon Tamers is actually, I believe, directed by the guy that did Summer Wars. And you can kind of really see it in that season.
Interesting. So yeah, I think it's kind of clear that Digimon does a better job of continuity and keeping with the thematic story. Not necessarily aiming for an older audience, but what it does is just really done well.
Yeah, it tells a really good story, and really good stories are appealing to people of all ages.
Yeah. So regardless of which is like your favorite show overall, like which do you think has the better story? Yu-Gi-Oh, Digimon, Yu-Gi-On,
Just mixing them all in there.
Yu-Gi-Oh-Kimon.
Yu-Gi-Oh-Kimon. Digimon.
So Yu-Gi-Oh, Digimon, or Pokemon? Let us know in the comments. Share your thoughts. I mean, obviously, nothing can be a solid winner, but there's always like points that resonate with each of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that all being said, what turns out to be your favorite? I know you said this is a very clear choice, like which is the best between like Yu-Gi-Oh, Digimon, and Pokemon.
Now, as far as anime or as far as card games?
Everything.
All the things, all the
I
brands.
think overall, like which is the best franchise? I mean, a lot of people
if you could own one of these
arguments.
IPs, like what one would you want to own?
If I owned one of these IPs, it would absolutely be Pokemon.
Those toys sell a lot.
The toys and the games, and it's just money. It's money.
This is true.
I won't disagree that
This
like
Pikachu is money. She spent $35 on this to get it from Japan.
Yeah, so cute. So
there's a 3-foot tall Pikachu for $300 in Pokemon centers right now.
And when I say this, it's a Pikachu with a raincoat for anybody who's not watching the video
and I'm
podcast.
cuddling it 'cause I
And she's
love
cuddling it.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, listeners. Go watch the video.
No. But no, like Pokemon has amazing branding and licensing, and the video games are really, really good. And I think Pokemon is the only one that has been able to do that over all these years. Like Yu-Gi-Oh! Ebbs and flows, Digimon ebbs and flows, Pokemon nonstop printing money for how long? 15 years now? 10 years?
Ever since it started.
Yeah.
I think
it was like
96, 98. Yeah.
Well, obviously, if we're taking in consideration that Pokemon games come like forefront, the thing for Pokemon. Obviously, the toys and stuff follow that. And then the show somewhere in there. But I mean,
Yeah, the
obviously,
show
I
is
don't
somewhere in there. It's like low
yeah, and then
radar.
the films. I don't think any of us really keep up with the show anymore. Is that fair to say?
No, I haven't kept up.
I
with
watched
the show.
the first 2 episodes of the newest season was on Hulu, and I watched those. I was like, this looks really cool. I could totally watch more of this. And then nothing more ever came. And I was like, oh, whatever.
It's also weird because like on Netflix they have Pokemon on Netflix, but it's like the first season of the original season, and then they have like the first season of Black and White, and you're just like, there's like a million episodes you're
there's a
missing
million
in between
episodes of
that.
Pokemon, and all the streaming companies are all like, you can have like 10 episodes of this season, you can have some of this season, it's all mixed up. What I do like is Netflix has the sub and dub of Digimon's 2 different shows.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
And that's actually my pick. I love Digimon. And as much as I love Pokemon, I love collecting Pikachus. Like, they're obviously my thing. I really love Digimon for the story and for the feels. Mimi is like my childhood nickname. I mean, even though I love Pikachu, like Palmon and Mimi's relationship was just something like super special to me as a kid. Except it's kind of weird. Like, they're kind of intertwined in weird ways. They do different things, of course. Whenever I was a kid in like elementary school, my friends would be playing Digimon. They're like, we're gonna be Digimon, and I was like, I want to be a Pikachu. That's okay. So,
Close enough.
Yeah, just really silly things, and it is hard to choose. Like, I also love Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot. I loved playing the card game as a kid growing up. I remember playing like in front of my house, like on the concrete driveway, just playing with my sister, with my neighbor. And, like, eventually I went to like a tournament and lost.
Toys R Us.
terribly.
They had tournaments all the time for
Mine was
Yu-Gi-Oh.
actually in a mall. Like, it was like a convention,
Oh, they
like,
did.
official kind of
Yeah, they had
tour.
like tours that they went on to, and they set up like
Yeah.
giant areas in malls back when Yu-Gi-Oh was like in its prime for popularity.
Yu-Gi even still has a big booth at Comic-Con every year. Like, it was at
Do they?
Comic-Con. Yeah, it was at
Oh, I
Comic-Con.
was at, you're right. I was at Comic-Con. They still do have a big.
Yeah,
booth
and they have like Comic-Con exclusive stuff, and they teach people how to play the card game at Comic-Con and stuff. And that's kind of shocking. Like, Pokemon isn't teaching people to play the card game at Comic-Con.
Nope.
Yeah, so even with all that, like the support, and I think the card game, at least for me, for Yu-Gi-Oh, is just one of the best. I prefer it. Still have to go with Digimon. The story, the heart, the feels. It's so important to me. So that's my pick.
hurting the feelings of all these Pikachu on the table right now.
No, they know I love them. It's fine.
But it's okay.
You're kind of like a shonen hipster. You're like Digimon. Like, I mean, I'm sure you haven't seen it, but it is
Yeah.
so much
It's
better.
pretty
I
underground,
don't know
but
if you
it's
saw the sub, but
Yeah.
you know, you're missing out.
Psyduck? I've only seen a handful of episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh! And Digimon. I watched the
Yeah.
first season and a half of Pokemon, and it's good stuff. But I was never obsessed with it. I was never obsessed with the games, so that's why I stayed out of this conversation. It's like I'm
like,
just going
I am
to
none of this
Yeah,
right
I'm
now.
just gonna sit here quietly and smile politely.
What was the name of the Pokemon game that came out not too long ago that was like Samurai like Warring States period, and it was like Final Fantasy Tactics?
Oh, yeah,
Conquest.
yeah.
Pokemon Conquest.
Yeah,
That
was it-
game was so good.
Oh,
It was
it's so bad.
it's like a weird time from a Japanese series, Nobunaga's Adventure, I believe.
Yeah.
It's Pokemon
Yeah.
versus Nobunaga Adventure
So
in
it's
Japan.
like-
It is such a good game.
Yeah, it was similar to Samurai Warriors kind of vein of thing.
Yeah.
Except, yeah, all the Samurai Warriors characters, like all the
Had
Nobunaga
Pokemon-themed
people
armor.
they had a Pokemon with them.
Mhm.
It had like their pals, and I wanted it so bad. It's on the DS. I was just.
It is such
I
a
missed
phenomenal.
it.
It is such a phenomenal game.
No, I correct myself. Black and White, was that the one where it was like Team Rocket, but they were like saying that training Pokemon and keeping them in Pokeballs was really cruel? Was that one?
Oh, was that Black and White?
Was that Black
no,
and
Black and
White?
White wasn't Team Rocket.
No, so
Not
it was,
Team
it
Rocket.
wasn't
I said Team Rocket.
But
It was,
yeah, so it was I'm blanking out if that was Black and White or X and Y all of a sudden. But I think it was
No,
Black
I didn't
and
like-
White.
I didn't like
think
X
it was,
and Y
I
that
think it was
much.
Black and White 1, not Black and White 2. And that was the one where, yeah, like N was like the bad guy, and he was all like, keeping Pokemon in balls is horrible. Having them fight, what is wrong with you people?
And he was
he's the
right.
bad guy. And
Think about it.
totally right.
You think about it, it is terrible. You're just like, hey,
It's dogfighting.
here's this cute Pikachu. Now I'm gonna fight your Charizard so we can throw fire at him and burn him alive.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah, I actually did like that one.
No, that
It
video
was
game
X and
had
Y I
like an
didn't really like.
amazing plot line. Yeah, so you're right. Black and White, like the first Black and White game, had an amazing plot line. And like halfway through, there's this like kind of swerve where it's like, well, I mean, he believes this and he's totally right, but the people behind the organization are still just jerks. And you're like, oh, that's kind of a cop out. But like, no, that was super cool. That was N's whole storyline. I think that's definitely the best plot that's ever been in a Pokemon video game or anime or any sort of media.
yeah,
Is
absolutely.
finally addressing the age-old problem of Pokemon is dogfighting. How do we
Yeah,
deal with
it
this?
is.
No, it's horrible. Especially because like the premise is go into the wild, capture a wild animal, then
Take
make it
from its
dogfight.
home, give it Stockholm
Take it from
syndrome,
its
Yeah.
family.
and then make it fight for you, and then still love you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
See, this is why like Digimon is the superior brand, because at the very least they're not real. Like at the very least, Digimon are computer creations, computer viruses, or computer games, or whatever you want to think
They're
about.
digital
them,
monsters.
Exactly.
Digital
That are
monsters.
fighting.
What?
They are not
What?
animals that you have captured in the wild.
They have no feelings, no will of their own.
And if they die, they turn into Data and are reborn as a Digi-Egg, and we all start all over again, and nothing
Yeah.
bad happens. But Pokemon, that's just messed up.
So
I think that's the twist. I think you're right. I think Digimon wins.
I think,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
love Pokemon.
Well, you guys are wrong.
Yu-Gi-Oh for life.
So,
No, Pokemon. I
friends,
trust Pokemon.
countrymen,
Remember?
Yeah.
viewers, listeners, whatever you like to call yourself, club members, let us know what you guys think. Which is your favorite? Which do you think actually, like maybe more objectively, is the best? We're gonna have a comment or a poll in our article for the show, so vote. I want to know. We'll of course let you guys know who the winner is in the next episode. We'll probably also have a poll in our Facebook group, which you can join at facebook.com/group/IGN Anime Club.
Good promo.
Yeah.
Good job.
Go join.
Give a
Yay.
Come hang out with us on Facebook.
little clap.
Golf clap.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, I think that kind of concludes our conversation about our love with Digimon, Pokemon, and Yu-Gi-Oh.
And I can have a lot more.
Oh my gosh, we could go on
Something
forever,
about that,
honestly. Like about how I forgot about Bandit Keith, like his name. Just like the guy with the sunglasses and the scarf. I'm like, gosh, he's so annoying, but he's kind of great. With that, we're gonna go ahead and move on to our anime watch party.
Yay.
Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop.
Yay.
Spike Spiegel.
Spike Spiegel.
Spike Spiegel.
So for this week, we are discussing episode 13, Jupiter Jazz Part 2, and episode 14, Bohemian Rhapsody. Yay, Queen!
Yay,
Yeah,
Queen.
I just love Queen. I love Bohemian Rhapsody,
So good.
as does every theater and band kid. But
I see a little silhouette of a cowboy.
yeah. So for our first viewer comment, we actually didn't get too many this episode, so don't forget to set a minute. We record on Tuesdays if you guys just kind of know when to, if you're following along and would like to say something. you can always tell us what you guys think with the hashtag IGNanime. That works for both Facebook and Twitter. We look at those. And you can send in your comments to our Anime Club email.
Yay! Yay!
Finally got that set up.
So, yeah, we 9 episodes in and we just got it. I'm sorry, guys. But
Very easy to get set up.
All good things take time.
I didn't know how.
Oh, okay.
No one wanted to help me. I had to ask our rehired news editor how.
Really? Could ask
I'm the
me.
new guy here. Yeah, anyway, so that email is animeclub@ign.com. And this week, we are going to start off with a comment from Joshua at Companion10, who says, "For those that are watching the Bebop sub, stop. It's literally one of the best dubs ever done, and a big reason why it's so loved." Which is,
Absolutely.
yeah, like
100%.
I've shared so much love for the dub before, and will continue to do so.
Yeah, like I said, like Spike Spiegel at the end, like Steve Bloom is an amazing voice actor.
Yeah, he's super
and
good.
if you listen carefully, you realize he is in everything. He's in like G.I. Joe. He's in the new Star Wars Rebels. He's all over the place. And whenever I hear his voice, if he does Spike in anything, I'm like, oh my god, it's Spike Spiegel. Yay.
Is he also the voice of Mugen in Samurai Champloo, or am I getting him mixed up with somebody else?
I
I'm trying to remember if that's true or not.
believe you're correct. He's done almost everything. So I believe that is correct. But it's so good, and the dub in general is just absolutely wonderful. I love everything about Cowboy Bebop,
Yeah.
except for the ending because it makes me sad.
No spoilers.
I mean, we know it's going to be sad.
Yeah.
I mean, just...
No, actually, I didn't. Thank you, everybody. So
We're
now
on the show for everything.
Everything
Something's
that-
going to happen.
something's
I
going to
haven't-
happen.
Maybe it's sad. It's not sad because the show.
I'm so glad Elena's
it's,
not here
It's
right
sad
now.
because the show ended.
Yeah.
To be
Not because it's a
100%
sad
honest,
ending.
Endings make me sad.
I have not seen the ending. I've only watched about a few episodes past where we are now, because I started watching it over Christmas when they put it on Hulu. And I think from the tone of the show and what we got from the foreshadowing in the beginning and or flashbacks,
Yeah,
whatever they
sure.
kind of seem to be.
I'm lying too. Somebody accidentally already spoiled the game, the ending for me. So I was like, I was reading something and then they put it in the comments like, well, all right. But I'm trying to forget it.
Yeah,
So I'm,
it's
like, trying to,
definitely
erase it
it's
from my
definitely
mind.
hard to deal with staying spoiler free for something that is old
Right.
Yeah.
is Cowboy Bebop.
It's hard. I mean,
It's hard enough just saying spoiler free from last Sunday's Game of Thrones.
Which people are already
true.
giving
You mean
away on
last
Twitter.
night's basically. It's
Yeah.
Like if you didn't watch on Sunday and Monday, you're screwed.
Yeah. No,
I mean,
no.
even during the morning meeting, it's like if you hadn't watched it, you're like, wait, what is this about? Because you're already talking about how
Yeah,
do
no,
you
there
wanna
are
talk about
there are
it?
people in the office who are just covering their ears, where IGN News is recording videos about stuff.
oh yeah,
and-
all the time.
Yeah.
I have
And-
my headphones on
Yeah.
constantly because IGN News spoils a lot of stuff, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
you obviously the headline kind of gives away that it's gonna have spoilers,
Mm-hmm.
but then I'm just like,
No, anytime we do a
hear
Star
it.
Wars story, I'm like, oh god, somebody else do this. I'm gonna go to the other end of the office where you guys shoot the Star Wars rumor.
Yeah, don't give it away. So
So, back to Cowboy Bebop.
Mhm.
Sorry for the tangent, but Jupiter Jazz Part 2. So we kind of left on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Spike got shot.
Mm-hmm.
He's fine.
of course,
Surprise!
Yeah, surprise!
Shocker.
We're only on episode 13. He's gonna be fine, obviously. And we kind of wrap up that little arc with Vicious again. We see him. He gets away, of course, because he does. But we get to learn a little bit more about Vicious and who he is and how he's always just terrible.
Yeah. Or I don't know about he's terrible, and yet there's this complexity. And I think we saw that with Gren and when they were on Titan and they're in those wars, and it's like
Vicious does what needs to be done
Yeah.
for whatever he's serving.
Kind of lives up to his name.
Sure, he's self-serving, or he does it for the good of the organization, or whatever. I mean, it seems like he doesn't care, but it's also hard to not question why he's so dedicated to what he does. Obviously, when he had that moment in the bunker with Gren, it's like, oh, it's very touching. He gave him the music box as a nice thing.
yeah.
No, he's using them. It's like, oh, you like this? Keep it.
Yeah.
What? Oh, thank you. You sure? No, keep it. Why? Because it has something that you're not supposed to have.
Yeah,
What?
exactly. So
I'm gonna frame you later.
yeah.
Yeah. So he's so vicious.
He's vicious, but I think you're right, Miranda. It's what is motivating him to be that way?
Right.
And I feel like I saw slight glimpses of that with Gren, but it may have been just trying to look for something deeper. Whereas I love Gren's character and how he has all these struggles and how he had to know the answers about why Vicious turned on him.
Right.
And then there was that awesome 2-on-1 dogfight with him and Spike, and it was so good.
Really was. I was also happy that we got to learn a little bit more about Julia.
Yeah.
Finally, because we've heard her name thrown around a few times. We've seen that there's a woman, and finally we know her name is Julia. And now I know just a little bit more about her, and that we get, of course, Spike is head over heels, kind of obsessed with finding her. But we still don't know tons. It seems like she may have betrayed him at some point. It seems like she may have been fooling around Vicious.
Yeah.
Seems.
Don't you see a flashback of them in bed or something? I can't quite
it's
remember.
pretty heavily implied that it's Vicious.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
Yeah, you couldn't totally see it. I don't think, but you were just like, yep.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
This got interesting.
Yeah, so Jupiter Jazz was heavy.
Yeah, it was super heavy.
But then we go to Bohemian Rhapsody, which is
It's so good.
wonderful and more about world exploration again. Like we kind of returned
Yeah.
to, instead of some character development, like we got tons of that in Jupiter Jazz.
Yeah.
Now we're moving back to building out the universe that
Right.
they're traveling in, which is really cool because you kind of see more about the gates and how those were built and how those all worked, and the people kind of got screwed over when that happened.
Yeah.
One comment we have from Caleb Archambault, I'm sorry. Only
I think
it
that was
said,
right, son.
I think so. I always just
Archambault,
apologize because I will inevitably say it wrong. Hopefully I got it right. I think I did. He said, only in Bebop can the Queen song Bohemian Rhapsody and chess have any correlation. And it's so true. It's so great. I don't know what it is, but chess episodes are kind of awesome. I can think of 3 awesome chess episodes right off the bat. There's one in Sailor Moon with Amy, and she has a chess tournament to kind of...
Oh, yeah, with Birdie. Well, not that Birdie is her American name. Now I'm blanking on her
Right,
Japanese
I kind of forget
name.
her Japanese name as well. There's also a awesome chess episode in Blood Blockade Battlefront. That's newer show, Kakai Sensen. And, of course, Bebop.
Yeah.
So Ed takes a little bit more of a crucial role in this one. It's kind of funny in Jupiter Jazz. She's like, what about Ed? You left me behind. And Faye's just like, oh, maybe I'll tell you when you're older.
Yeah.
And then now Ed kind of gets a little bit more of a role. And
Yeah,
she's
sort of like a front and center role where she's playing this old man, and she at one point could checkmate him, and then she like psychs him out, and the guy just is like, he's either really stupid or really genius.
Yeah.
And they play for like a week straight without stopping, and you just see how smart and resourceful Ed is, but like how weird Ed is at the same time too.
Yeah, it's nice to have her doing something important because she is mostly there for comic relief.
Right.
And she's fun. I mean, she's a kid, so it's not like she has... It's not like they're trying to give her some, like, massive past or something that's very deep. Like, she's just, like, some kid from Earth that likes to hack and is very intelligent.
Is very good at everything.
Yeah. So, and she's just also very weird.
Yeah.
So it's
Absolutely.
great.
Which is the best part. I mean, when she starts clapping with her feet at one point because she's like so happy, I just started cracking up. I was like, I have no idea what's going on right now, but that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So it's just kind of nice to highlight Ed. What kind of like your favorite moments from the episode, or like what did you guys kind of point out? Obviously, like I said, it's like a big world building episode. Get to see how like other people are treated and like kind of one off weird spaceports and stuff, and
Yeah.
it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I think the whole thing with like the gate accidents and stuff was like a hint at something a little bit darker, a little more complex.
A little foreshadowing.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
little foreshadowing.
Yeah. I just like how we kind of finished, like, I think in a lot of anime, like episode 13 is usually like kind of like a little like sub peak, like we're halfway through, the batch or whatever, and we have our kind of big event here. And I like that, we had kind of a break, and it's kind of a little more lighthearted. Now we can explore the universe more. We can all take a minute to be like, this place is nuts, and everything goes on in the universe of Cowboy Bebop, but it just makes no sense and is amazing at the same time.
Yeah.
Also, it's just very desolate and kind of poor and broken. It's a broken universe.
Yeah, no, it's a wonderful like original trilogy like used universe. Like everything isn't like shiny and magical. Like it all is like kind of gritty and broken in.
Yeah,
and
I
I
feel
feel
like
so are the people. Like everybody
Yeah.
there like is really kind of like beaten down and really has like a backstory.
Yeah, it's more realistic than like the shiny kind of chrome spaceships with all the lasers and going pew pew pew. Like this is like a reality that you can believe, and that people have been through a lot, and that it weighs down on them, and they're all trying to fight for the same resources and just try to survive. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah. So I guess that kind of wraps up our watch party this week. It's kind of short. Obviously, we don't want to get too long with the episode. But next week we'll be watching episodes 15 and 16. So go ahead and watch those and send us your thoughts. We'd love to hear what you're saying. Also, before we wrap this up, we got to talk about these lovely cards right here.
We have quite a few Pokemon starter decks and then some little mini tins.
Yeah, we have here
Store your deck in it.
2 Primal Clashes, 2 Roaring Skies, and then Elite Trainer deck Shields. So that's what my friend Frank is holding up.
So the deck shields are like metal, like aluminum deck boxes with actual booster packs inside too. So random cards come inside.
Yeah, so if you are listening, then you should maybe check out the article page because we'll have a picture of them posted. You can actually win these.
Yes.
So you can win not just one of them. You can win the entire pack. So we are giving away 5 packs of these. And all you have to do to enter to win is write a short story about your favorite Pokemon. Whether it's about why you love them or just some like imaginative tale or whatever you want. 250 words maximum. If you go over that, you're disqualified.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because we don't have time to read 500 word essays.
Would like to
If you're very passionate about your Pokemon.
Yeah, your long fan fiction.
No reusing
Sorry.
your fan fiction.
Yeah.
Because that's really
Please don't submit.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can't
please
just
don't
like
submit Ash and Misty fan fiction.
Whoa.
Yeah, nothing lewd, guys. So yeah, just like a 250
Clearly you guys
word,
got my email then.
250 word short story. Just tell us about your favorite Pokemon. A little story for them. Give them a little adventure. Something cool. Extra points for Pikachu. Just kidding.
Oh, now you've done it.
Just kidding.
Extra points if you evolve that Pikachu into Raichu.
No.
Extra points if it's all about
Yes.
Psyduck.
you can do really interesting stuff with Psyduck.
Okay, so you can any kind of Pokemon. You can involve more than one, of course. Trainers, whatever you guys want. 250 words. We'll post, of course, more details on the article page. You can send your entries in to our new email,
Yay.
animeclub@ign.com. So be sure to do that, and we hope to see your cool entries.
Yes,
I love reading
absolutely. And these are
stories.
new Pokemon cards, so they're not
Yes.
banned or illegal or
No, these are all
disqualified or
Primal Clash is a
viable.
little bit older.
These are all valid for organized play. So if you're gonna play in your Pokemon regionals that are coming up like next weekend, this weekend.
Or if you want to get started.
Yep. Or if you want to get started, great way to start.
Or if you just want to collect them like me and just put them on a wall. Be like, oh. But no, I actually have to play, so.
You have to learn how to play. That's the mandatory now.
That's the thing. So yeah, we're going to wrap up the episode. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for our guests for coming on to talk about
Thank you very much for having us.
favorite childhood
Been
memories.
cool.
Games.
Card games.
Yay.
Yay.
Yu-Gi-Oh.
So you can find me at Havoc Rose on Twitter. Megan?
At MEGHAN_IGN.
At Frank Knight, KNIGHT.
So cool.
At Brian X Bang, as it sounds.
Yeah, and of course, if you want to join our Facebook group for more conversations, that's facebookgroups.com or facebook.com/groups/IGN Anime Club. And we also have a Crunchyroll group that is pretty cool too. So yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And we'll see you next episode, episode 10.
Yay!
Bye.
Double digits.
Are you going to do anything crazy?
No.
Okay.
Isn't 10 old enough to go get your Pokemon license? Is that how that works? You turn 10, you can go get your starter Pokemon and go out on an adventure?
Yeah, we're gonna get our licenses.
Yeah.
Let's get Pokemon. Our show can.
Yep.
Yeah. Bye.